right here. Sit right down here. That's it. This is the same genuine, magic, authentic crystal used by the priests of Isis and Osiris in the days of the pharaohs of Egypt, in which Cleopatra first saw the approach of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, and so on and so on. Now, you'd better close your eyes, my child, for a moment in order to be better in tune with the infinite. We can't do these things without reaching out into the infinite. Yes, that's all right. Now you can open them. We'll gaze into the crystal.
I can answer you no longer, gentlemen, and as I fear that these may be my last moments on Earth, I wish to no longer entertain your brute questioning. I'd rather die with my family by my side. For the umpteenth time, I tell you that it was not I that instigated the darkness that plagues us now. It began just this past Wednesday, an innocuous day to say the least. It was hump day, for goodness sake, but what a dark one it turned out at that. It began simple enough. Like any other day in the past week and a half, I awoke at 6, dusting away the usual haunts that drift and shroud my mind in the twilight hours, and began the day watching logic tutorials. I toiled away the remainder of the day in solitude, my mind transported to an inaccessible land of logic and reason. I attempted to gain access to this land, but could find no passable road or method of entry. Foiled again. The day started to grow long. It was the end of long summer days in the sun, and our great Helios yearned to give pass to Artemis, for it was his turn to uphold the longer of the mantles of duty. I will tell you again, as I told you many times before, it was at this exact moment that I received a telephone call. A call I was not expecting, nor did I desire. How I wish I never answered that dreadful call. I can hear it now. That horrendous cacophony of tones might as well have been the sound of 1,000 trumpets heralding the arrival of the archangel. My ears bleed now at the very thought of it. My very stomach is filled with pitch and bile, ready to spew forth and alight everything in reachable dimension should I hear that demonically tainted sound again. The phone number was not unknown to me, and the caller seemed incessant and in great need to speak with me. Against my bitterness at the intrusion of the call at this hour, I had to wake up early for goodness sake, and a general bubbling of resentment that was quickly fomenting within my mind at the thought of someone not taking the care to glance at a damned clock, I answered. It could be an emergency, said a small voice in the back of my mind as I reached toward the telephone to answer the caller. The others quickly silenced him. Yes, I said, not exactly attempting to hide the raging annoyance I was currently radiating forth into the surrounding aura of general hushed calm and growing shadow of the night. In the instant the caller responded, I knew I would not be going to bed tonight. If only I knew that I may never go to bed again, with the intention of waking up in the beautiful glow of the morning. Their voice betrayed a panic with which make your ears bolt upright and the hairs electric on the back of your neck. A voice that fills you with a deep despair that is not unknown to you, but that you attempt to avoid at all times in life. An iciness of the soul at the possibility of what actions might befall you should you continue on this path that surely entails nothing but reckless abandon. The voice attempted measurement and breadth, but continuously fell short. They spoke at length of the graveness of the situation and the frailty of their constitution. They sought out my help and gave precise instruction, as best they could under the immense weight of their fleeting moments, about preventing what had happened to them, amidst their moment of curiosity and vanity, from happening to the rest of the town. Bring a flashlight, you'll need one, said the weakening voice. The call ended without another word. I inhaled inexorably. I hadn't breathed or spoken the entire phone call. My heart began to beat rhythmically and sporadically, as if trying to flee the body it knew would surely possess it to pump the necessary blood it required to make its foolish actions. I put the phone down and went quickly to the garage, careful not to awaken the ears of my family, who would question why their member intended to slink off into the night armed with nothing more than a flashlight. I wondered the same. I rummaged for quite too long until I found an old lantern-style handset that required large D-set batteries. I could scrounge no extra despite my search, but the light it illumined was short of none, and gave me confidence that even the unearthly depths of the river Styx, with all its murk, could be revealed in its golden light. I left the home at once, with great haste. Thoughts of never returning flirted maddeningly at the borders of my conscience, but I steeled my mind against them for fear that they mangle the purpose that drove me. I entered my car, backed away from my ancestral home, and careened down the road. I had no time, I thought to myself as I continuously glanced at the clock. Every moment mattered, and I had but an hour before the damned thing set out from its God-forgotten sepulchre to descend upon my fellow townsmen. Not any manner of modicum of the thing could escape for fear that might hostess allow its ugliness to infect ever more throngs of innocents. I arrived at the given location 20 minutes away, situated at the edge of town. It was an inconspicuous bit of lot, to say the least, a dreary hovel, hidden away beneath the creaking avocado trees. I spied my caller's vehicle, parked off-road and concealed only by a thicket of weeds and brush. I had no time for such trivialities. I left the car in front of the home, still running as far as I remember, and dashed with every ounce of power I could muster into the strangely inviting orchards that yawned ever higher as I approached. I then knew why they invited me so. 20 minutes into my mad scramble, and I feared that I had perhaps went the wrong way. I swung the lantern ever about, attempting to find my way. The orchard felt suffocating, the air thick with ill intention, and images of such a monstrosity escaping into the world of humans began to flash in my mind's eye, transfixing me into a worthless mass of fear-filled meat. I couldn't breathe. The madness was palpable. Every sinew in my body tensed with insurmountable fear at the thought of traversing any calculable distance towards my purpose. I fell, hard, and knocked my head on something buried beneath the browning avocado leaves and decaying rot of the fruit. My lantern lay strewn on the ground near me. I quickly rose to my knees and set about scattering away all obstruction from the stone I could see buried underneath. I inhaled sharply. Surely this is what my caller meant for me to find, and for me to then move back into place over the opening, forever sealing away the ancient horror that wished to reach the surface of the earth. The stone had the archaic symbols and inscriptions and languages I could not decipher that were described to me over the phone, but why was it already shut? Was this some sort of trick? Had my caller escaped from the tomb? Had he escaped and forgotten to notify me of his Herculean achievement and his rapturous joy? Creeping dread formed at the base of my skull and dropped into the pit of my stomach. No, my caller could not have escaped on his own given his condition. How is it then that this door is shut? I whispered raggedly to myself. Muffled cries began to emanate from the depths hidden by the stone door. I startled backwards in fright and confusion at the sound of not ghastly whisperings or horrendous screams, but at the familiar sound of my caller's voice begging to be let out. A trick, I instantly believed. The abomination wishes me to free it from its prison. After that thought, my lantern gave out. How foolish and nearsighted I was, oblivious to the doom, delighting in mirth as it watched me attempt to gather my wits. It laughed. Not a laugh that comes from a voice that is breathed from lungs, but a voice that pervades the very mind without making a sound. I think it was then that I went mad. Hush now. Can you hear it? I can hear it even now. I can tell you one thing, gentlemen, and one thing only. I do not remember running to my car, or when I crashed into the side of that 7-Eleven going at speed, attempting to collect my family, to save them, for a time, by hiding ourselves away in some far-flung island far from humanity. But I do remember that the sky-blackening creature is freed, and it will befall us all.